It's knitwear season, so let's talk about the different fibers that are available and why there's more to knitwear than just cashmere and wool. This is going to be a little mini series where I'm going to touch on cashmere, merino, camel, yak, and other fibers. And I'll talk about the pros and cons of each of them compared to the others. So in today's, we're going to talk about this one, the number 2 on this pile of sweaters and cardigans. That's a cashmere sweater. Cashmere is almost synonymous with luxury knitwear. So cashmere, if you didn't know, comes from the cashmere goat, but I'm not going to go into all the details about where it's from, but rather focus on the technicalities of cashmere. Let's start with softness. One of the reasons it's so soft is because the diameter of the fiber is so small. It's between 14 and 16 micron officially, but baby cashmere that Loro Piana uses under a brand name and other brands processes that as well can be even finer and goes down to 13.5 microns or even 13. By comparison, wool goes down to 11 microns at the very top end of the spectrum, but ranges towards 24 microns at the lower end of the quality spectrum. And the individual fiber length ranges between 35 to 45 millimeters. So that's the reason why, for example, the best quality standard is often quoted as 1436. The Chinese cashmere producer Eidos, for example, launched a line called 1436 to reflect just that. So why is cashmere so popular? It comes down to a combination of weight and warmth. Cashmere is 6 to 8 times warmer than traditional wool, while it is a lot lighter at the same time. This means that a piece like this cable knitwear sweater in pure cashmere is going to keep you a lot warmer than a comparative item in wool, but it can't be all good, can it? So that's a big pro for cashmere and why you want to buy it, because it's very comfortable, very light, very warm, and in my opinion it's primarily suited for layering pieces. That is due to the fact that it's temperature regulating. So what are the pros, what are the cons? We talked a lot about the pros. There are some drawbacks to cashmere. One characteristic of cashmere is that it's not very friction resistant. That's why you get these pillings. These are basically the very short fibers in your sweater that rub against the others and sort of come loose due to friction. In my experience, that happens across the gamut, whether you buy a $100 sweater or one for $1,000, but it takes place at a lot later stage with a more expensive one. Another quote-unquote downside of cashmere is that it requires care, meaning you have to wash it by hand in lukewarm water, ideally with a dedicated shampoo, or you can use baby shampoo as well. Just something that's very gently on the fibers. Then you have to lie it flat, wrap it in a towel ideally, and let it dry, which can take some time. Now it is important to note that the pilling that you get initially on some sweaters, once you remove it and wash it for the first time, it usually stops. The maintenance and care, meaning washing it, also contributes to the break-in period of cashmere, which over time gives it this cloud-like texture. And that is regardless of whether you buy Italian processed cashmere, which tends to be a lot softer on the hand from the get-go, or you buy Scottish cashmere, which is a bit rougher and drier when you compare them side by side. But regardless, once you start washing and wearing them, they're gonna become pillowy soft. So in short, who's cashmere actually for? If you love the soft hand, you have time to care for it, and you're not wearing it in harsh conditions, it's the perfect fiber, no question about it. That's why it's become famous, and that's why so many people love it. However, because of its fragility and its need for care, there are other fibers better suited that come with similar, if not identical properties, depending on the environment that you're wearing it in. Meaning if you spend a lot of time outside and you're exposed to the elements, wool is just much more resistant. If you don't have time for care or washing it, yak is another alternative that I'm going to talk about. And there's of course my personal favorite, camel hair, which is as warm as cashmere, slightly rougher, but also a lot more durable. Plus, it doesn't have the harsh environmental impact of cashmere. So I will talk about the other fibers in the coming days. In the meantime, leave a comment below, ask your questions, and I'll do my best to answer all of them.